For weeks, NBA fans everywhere dreamed about the possibility of a Warriors-Lakers play-in game in the NBA play-in tournament. Well, that possibility is going to be a reality on Wednesday night, and it's going to be absolutely lit. Coming up, we're going to preview this matchup, but first, get into the comments and predict the score of Wednesday night's game between the Warriors and Lakers, and this is why you must do so, because if you were the first person to correctly pick the winner, choose the correct score before Wednesday's tip, and you don't edit it, because if you do, you're a fraud, we will Venmo you $25. So get your predictions in the comment section below. You're watching the Lakers Report by Chat Sports. I am Chase Sr. Warriors-Lakers set for Wednesday night in the NBA play-in tournament. Winner locks up the 7th seed in the Western Conference. Loser takes on the winner of the 9-10 matchup in the NBA play-in tournament. Lakers enter this game 4.5-point favorites. The over-under set at 220.5. So, with couple thousand people on hand at Staples Center, Lakers expected to win, and they have a good chance of doing so because LeBron James is back in the lineup, and in the past 2 games since returning from that ankle injury, he does look healthy. I was really happy that he was able to get a couple games under his belt prior to the NBA play-in tournament because this team hasn't really played much together as this current core. Here's what he did against the Indiana Pacers. Looked spry on that tender ankle, 24 points, 8 assists, as well as 7 rebounds. Shot an efficient 11 of 22 from the floor. And then on Sunday against the Pelicans, both of these games really must-win games for the Lakers. LeBron James once again rose to the occasion, 25 points, 6 assists, 3 steals as he was pretty active defensively. Once again, shot 11 of 22 from the floor. Now, it did come out after that win against the Pelicans that LeBron James tweaked that problematic ankle in that win against New Orleans. But no worries, he said he's going to be fine. But let's be honest, moving forward into the play-in tournament as well as in the NBA playoffs, if and when the Lakers do get there. The ankle is going to be a lingering issue. He first injured it back on March 20th, came back, only played 2 games before he exited the lineup once again. Then he returned against the Pacers and played 2 consecutive games. And I think when LeBron James said, "I'm never going to be 100% healthy," I'm not sure he meant that for the duration of his career. I think he meant from here on out to the rest of the regular season and postseason, because those high right ankle sprains, they do often linger, and when you're 36 years old, you don't bounce back as early and as fast as you used to do when you were in your prime. That's what I think LeBron James meant. And while he did look good in those previous 2 games, I think it's realistic to say that that ankle injury could cause him problems moving forward. But if he played like he did in the past 2 games, I think the Lakers are in a pretty good spot. I think LeBron looked good. What do you think? Grade his performance for me in the prior 2 games. Get into the comments and grade it A, B, C, D, or F. Now, the Lakers right now are streaking. They're hot. Part of that is because LeBron James is back and looking good. Also because Anthony Davis is looking good too. But this Lakers team is quote-unquote healthy. They've won 5 consecutive games, and I put healthy in quotations because they're at least healthy enough to play. LeBron James isn't 100%. I'd probably say Anthony Davis isn't 100%, but they're both back, as is Dennis Schroeder, who's back from COVID protocols, and some of the other pieces on the team, including Alex Caruso, are back and at least able to play for Frank Vogel. So I like the prospects of the Lakers having success in the playoffs because there's some semblance of continuity to a certain degree, and I think they're scary. Other teams in the Western Conference also think the Lakers are really scary because how about teams like the Clippers openly tanking, approaching the end of the regular season because they wanted to avoid the Lakers? Yeah, that was somewhat blatant for me. And it is totally possible that if the Lakers lock up either the 7 or 8 seed, and I think it's reality that they're going to do so, they could be one of the most dangerous 7 or 8 seeds that we've ever seen in NBA history. It's not often that you see a reigning NBA champion this far in the Western Conference standings in the 7 or 8 spot. It's not because they've been bad this year. They have just been crushed by injuries. That's the product of them being so low in the Western Conference standings, but a very, very scary team at that. So what do you think, Laker Nation? Can the Lakers still make a finals run, given they haven't had a lot of time to gel on the court together? Get your votes in below. Type Y for yes, they can make a finals run, or type N for no. The Lakers Report is brought to you by our sportsbook partner at BetUS. If you want to wager on Wednesday night's game, you have to use this deal right here because it's one of the best that any sportsbook has to offer, and it can be applied and used in any state across America, even if sports gambling isn't legal in your state. You go to chatsports.com/Lakers, enter the promo code Lakers125, and you get a 125% deposit bonus, meaning if you deposit $100 in your account using that link in that promo code, you get $225 of virtually free money. And if you want to wager and put some lettuce on Wednesday night's game, here's the line right here. Lakers as 4.5-point favorites. If you think the Lakers are the more talented and the deeper team, why don't you gas LA at -4.5? I think that's what I'm going to do. Let's take a look at this Lakers probable starting lineup, and let's hope no more injuries come to light, because that's been the constant story and theme of this 2020-2021 season. As compared to the Warriors lineup, I think the Lakers are much deeper, much more talented across the board, and I think they're better suited to make a deep run with this lineup right here. Dennis Schroeder, as I said, is back from COVID protocols. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, he is what he is. I think he's somewhat overpaid, but he was a clutch bucket getter last year and has big-time playoff experience. LeBron James, look, a down year for him just because of injuries, but prior to him getting injured, he's probably the MVP in the league, or maybe in the running to do so, averaging around 25 points per game. Andre Drummond, he's been up and down, has a golden opportunity to prove his worth and his stock against a Warriors team that's somewhat thin in the front court. And Anthony Davis, it took him a little while to ramp up, which was expected coming off a pretty serious calf and Achilles strain, but since coming back and getting his feet underneath him, Anthony Davis has been straight up balling out. On the other side, the Warriors, led by Steph Curry, the NBA scoring champion and near MVP, is probably going to finish, let's say, second or third NBA scoring champion, averaging 32 points per night. Who else is going to step up in addition to Steph Curry? That is the big question for the Warriors and Steve Kerr. Is it going to be Kent Bazemore, who's in the starting lineup in place of Kelly Oubre, who will not be available for the Warriors in the play-in tournament? Andrew Wiggins, since getting called out and run over by a bus by Stephen A. Smith, has rose to the occasion, and he's played pretty well. Sneaky 19 points per game almost throughout this entire season. And Draymond Green, you know that when there are big games at stake, he balls out and he plays really well. And then you have Kevon Looney rounding out that starting five for the Warriors. You compare the two, I think the Lakers are much, much better. What do you all think? Who has the better starting five between these two teams who are clashing on Wednesday? Type W for the Warriors, type L for the Lakers. Be sure to get your votes in the comment section below. I'm going to go ahead and type L. Now, a big reason why everybody wanted the Warriors and Lakers to play in the play-in game on Wednesday is because of the LeBron-Steph rivalry. It's another installment in what has become one of the best rivalries in the history of the NBA, and let's be honest about it. It is right up there with the Magic Johnson, Larry Bird rivalry, and throughout Michael Jordan's run. Who was his biggest rival? Was it Karl Malone and John Stockton? There wasn't a long-standing player versus player rivalry for MJ. On the other hand, Steph Curry and LeBron James, this has been a long-standing rivalry that's gone on for a while. Consecutive NBA Finals duels from 2015 to 2018. And Steph Curry owns the rivalry right now in terms of championships against one another, 3 rings to LeBron's 1. Overall, throughout their entire careers, though, LeBron is on top, 4 rings to Steph Curry's 3, LeBron getting that 4th Larry O.B. last year in the bubble championship. You compare these two, and look, I know the numbers aren't really close. LeBron's been in the league since 2003, Steph Curry not as long, but let's look at it from this perspective. LeBron James really, in a time of need, stepped up when the NBA needed a face in addition with Kobe Bryant, and somewhat carried the torch after Michael Jordan, and has been one of the most influential athletes of all time. Steph Curry, on the other hand, has been one of the most influential basketball players that the game has ever seen, and by himself has changed the way that the game is played. You look back at the course of NBA history, LeBron James and Steph Curry, when we look back at it, let's say a couple decades from now, the fingerprints on the league that both of these guys have had, incredible. And their numbers certainly back that up. And over time, this is a rivalry where both of these guys have really learned to respect one another. This is what Steph Curry had to say about taking on LeBron on Wednesday night and it being another chapter of this great rivalry. Quote, "You expect greatness. It just brings out another level of intensity and excitement." This is what LeBron had to say in response to that. "Our paths have been crossed again. There's always been a level of respect that's beyond the game of basketball. We're playing, in my mind, the MVP of this year in Steph Curry." So at the onset, at the start of this rivalry, it was kind of bitter between these two guys. Understandable because they were fighting for NBA championships. Over time, though, they've learned to appreciate one another for the impact that both of them have had on the court as well as off of it. So who you got? It's almost an impossible question to pose to you all. Type LBJ for LeBron James, type SC for Steph Curry. I'm going to stay off of this one. I have mad respect for both of these guys, as evidenced by what I've said about both of them. You get your votes in, though, and let me know, because it's an answer to an almost impossible question, two all-time greats who are two of the best to ever do it. At the end of the day, I think this is great for the NBA. The regular season has been somewhat slow and sluggish. I think players resting is a big reason for that. It's been a condensed schedule of only 72 games in comparison to 882 like we've seen in regular years. And I think the NBA just needs a matchup with some juice in the NBA play-in tournament. And we got juice with this one. And I think the ratings are going to be out of the roof, and I can't wait to see how everything plays out. You look at the rivalry here. I mean, we've talked about it. LeBron James against Steph Curry. It is just phenomenal, and to see this come to fruition on Wednesday night, it's going to be magical and it's going to be lit. Real quick, here are my keys to a Lakers win. LeBron has to mirror LeBron. There's no doubt about that. He has to play like himself for the Lakers to not just win this game, but to make a deep playoff run. And if I'm Frank Vogel, this is what I'm doing with Steph Curry. I'm not letting him go off. I'm not taking that mindset of, okay, we'll let Steph get his and let him drop 50, because sometimes when he drops 50, it's those momentum-changing buckets that really just demoralize the other team, and you see that in the opposing team's body language. I don't want that to happen. I don't want Steph Curry to ruin this party. So as soon as he crosses half court, I'm sending double and triple teams on multiple occasions. I'm trying to wear him down and pester him. For Anthony Davis, he has to do his thing and play like he's been playing. And I'm thinking Andre Drummond can prove his worth and prove that he is a viable player for this Lakers team, because the Warriors are somewhat thin at the front court. So for guys like Andre Drummond and Marc Gasol, they have a golden opportunity to play really well and be a key factor in Wednesday night's game. Here's what we have cooking up for you on Wednesday night. We're going to do a watch party. And if you haven't tuned into one of our watch parties, it is must-watch television. We break down the game live. We do a little play-by-play. We answer all of your questions during the broadcast. So if you don't want to tune in to some of those other networks and you want to rock with us here at Chat Sports on the Lakers Report, you can do so, because we are going to be live for the entire game, pre and post game as well, breaking it all down on the Lakers Report. So make sure you subscribe to the Lakers Report so that you don't miss it. YouTube.com/LakersTV allows you to subscribe or hit that big red button down below.